Hey guys, Jeff Queen here, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I go through now to warm up when I go do a clinic or when I do a performance. And certainly what I do now at the age of 37 is a lot different than what I did at the age of 15. And what I did at the age of 15 might have been different than what I did at the age of 21 and 22. So now for me, I got to be honest, I don't play snare drum a whole lot anymore. I do for gigs, and certainly it's part of my livelihood. And I have to start to train now for clinics that I do. So let's say if I have a clinic that's on a Saturday or a performance that's on a Saturday, I'll start to dig in pretty heavily with some practice routine and training on like Wednesday night. So what it basically boils down to me now, because I've put so much time in when I was younger, that I just need to keep my hands in shape. So a lot of what I do is kind of maintenance. So to say that I sit and I practice fundamentals is a true statement, but not nearly to the extent that I did when I was much younger. Also, I just finished with my master's degree in performance from Butler University, so I was playing a lot of other instruments as well. So I would spend more time fundamentally with those, with marimba, with drum set, hand drums, Indian percussion, than I would necessarily working on snare drum. But what I do now, I know the things that make my hands feel good. So I've learned my body well enough to understand that I need to get a good mix of sort of one-heighted things and two-heighted things. And then some flams and some different rudiments as well. So really what I do now is I always start kind of slow. And you see this little band on my hand right here. I've actually got a little bit of tennis elbow, which is just an inclination that I'm getting older. But it all really boils down to make sure that I'm taking my time to warm up, that I've not sort of tried to jump out of bed and run a marathon or run a really super fast sprint. So first things first, I always start out literally before I even actually pick up sticks. I start by shaking my hands out, okay? So one of the things that I found is I've just started to get into a little bit of calisthenics from literally just started doing this. So I kind of call it the hokey pokey with my hands. So I'll shake them up and down this way, side to side, turn my hands forward this way, and just sort of get them kind of loose, right? And that's something that I do a lot. Another thing is to sort of do some finger isolation. So I do this little one-handed clap thing, which looks kind of goofy, okay? But it is really a great tool to get loose, especially like backstage if I'm playing at a concert or something like that and I don't have the ability to get far away and make noise like on a pad or something of that nature. So this little one-handed clap is a finger isolation. So I'm thinking of everything from basically right where my fingers come into my palm to my shoulder as a solid piece. Okay, and I'm just going to sort of hold my wrist in place. The term lock my wrist is certainly there, but to me that just seems really harsh. So hold your wrist in place, and I'm really just going to start flapping from my elbow until my fingers start smacking against my palm there. Okay, and I'm completely relaxed. When I try to teach this to people, a lot of times you see people do that. Okay, and that is what you want to do, but you want to do that of your own accord, basically. You don't want to actually be using your finger muscles to do that. You want it to just relax and smack against your hand. Okay, then you can kind of get crazy and play some rhythms with it, something like that. So it can be a cool little trick to do, as well as a very, very, very good warm-up. So that's usually how I start to play. I also just sort of start to stretch and do some things that feel good. And for anybody, you just got to pay attention to your body and know what you need, kind of. But I find just to put my hands, my fingers over my fingers, basically, and gently pull down. And certainly the different flexes of my elbow will increase or decrease the stretch. And I also find, too, that even here I can start to just kind of press on each finger, and I'll get into a little bit more stretch should I need it in each individual finger, basically. Do the same thing with your thumb, okay, and emphasize gentle, because you could, really just sort of hurt something there. But I'll go through that, and this is all depending on how tight or loose I am, on how deep I get with these stretches, but all are very, very helpful, okay? Same thing with the thumb here. Okay. Some of these types of things too can help, right? And I've just found over the years that I'll do whatever I sort of feel that I need at that time. And on day 2 or 3 of my little training session, if I'm starting on Wednesday, maybe Thursday I'm a little tighter because I hadn't been playing it so much before I kind of started digging in. So I may need more or less stretch, but again, just sort of listen to your body and do what you need. Then it's time to pick the sticks up, okay? And I usually now, turn on a tune or just sort of start playing. Back in the day, I would certainly have a metronome on and be really getting into heavy, heavy detail as far as the basic skills and things like that. But nowadays, I'll just start sort of. So usually it'll start kind of one-heighted, get into some rolls. And then I'll start to get into a little bit more two-heighted things. So whether that means flams, whether that means just sort of tap drags and accented paradiddles and stuff, who knows? But I start to kind of keep the motions relatively simple and then just sort of evolve into some other thing. I'm going to go through about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, kind of a condensed version of what I would do. And it's really very improvisatory, which is cool at the same time. And like I said, I sometimes try to do it with a tune, so I'm just sort of playing along and jamming and working on a little bit of my feel as well during my warm-up. So again, go something like this. Something like that.